She's a high school physics teacher turned engineering physicist. She works in a mechanical engineering and Fermi lab. Please welcome to the stage, Stephanie Timpone.
I am an engineering physicist at a particle physics laboratory. So basically what that means is that I've dedicated the past 4 years of my life to answering one question. So what is it that you do again? When I want to talk about particle physics, or the inner workings of a particle detector, I'm a physicist. And when I want to tell a physicist that that crazy new experiment that they want to design is going to be impossible to build, I'm an engineer. Yes. I recently got involved in an R&D project to build a small satellite called a CubeSat. Now, a CubeSat is a 10-centimeter cube, roughly about the size of a 4-pack of beer. Coincidence? I think not. And you can stack these cubes to make bigger CubeSats. And we think that we're going to make a 3-unit cube for our experiment. So now we're talking about a 12-pack. It's not a compost party, but... And you can make even bigger CubeSats. You can make 12, 24, 36-unit CubeSats, at which point you're going to need an entire beer sponsorship to fund the cost of sending that thing to space. So we want to put a sensor in our satellite to look for something called dark matter. Now, if you don't already know, the universe and everything in it is only made of 5% ordinary matter and 95% dark matter and dark energy. Dark matter is this thing we know exists based on our astronomical observations, but we just haven't figured out a way to see it yet. Kind of like how you can't see somebody's thoughts or our president's tax returns. And so when we look out into the night sky and we look at galaxies and observe them rotating, we know how fast they should be spinning based on the amount of ordinary matter there, but they're spinning way faster. So there has to be something else to make up for it, and that's what we call dark matter. If you think designing and launching a satellite to discover dark matter is easy, you are so right. Let me tell you in 5 easy steps. Step 1. Get funded. This is where most space hopes and dreams die. So just hang your head and keep writing proposals and pray you win the lottery. It does get easier from here, though. Step 2, get an Uber, a space Uber. You see, most CubeSats are manifested as secondary payloads on rocket missions. So a company like SpaceX has a scheduled rocket launch, and they can choose to bring a bunch of CubeSats for a ride share, a la Uber Pool, and drop them off at some predetermined orbit. So if the launch provider is the Uber driver and the CubeSats are the passengers, think of it this way. The Uber driver doesn't care who you are or where you're going, so long as A, they get paid, and B, you don't fuck up their car. It works the same with rocket launches. Step 3, design your satellite. And there's a lot of things to consider here. But for one, power. You need batteries to power everything in your satellite. Communication systems, sensor operations, onboard computers, picking off streams of HBO and Showtime. And then you need solar panels to recharge those batteries. So these are essential components to the mission success. So I don't recommend the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 batteries. Then attitude control. So if you want to be able to point at different things in the sky, you need equipment that can rotate your satellite in 3 dimensions. So for one, you can use pressurized gas propellants, but this is forbidden by your Uber driver. You can use reaction wheels, which spin and use momentum to counter-rotate you. Or my personal favorite, magnetorquers. Yeah, magnetorquers. They generate their own magnetic field, and it interacts with the Earth's magnetic field to generate a usable torque. Magnet torquers. Then you have the radiation environment in space to deal with. So your satellite is constantly being pummeled by high-energy particles from the sun and deeper space, and it's no longer protected by the Earth's atmosphere. So there are these things called single event upsets that can happen. A single event upset is when your 95% OkCupid match stands you up on a third date. I'm over it. But single event upsets are also when high energy particles induce errors in your electronics, and they can be caused by solar flares. So I was talking to some of my colleagues who are mostly men, this is important, for an easy way, a simple way of describing single event upsets and solar flares and what happens in these cases. One of them offered,
so it's basically like when the sun farts, and the fart has the power of like 1 million nuclear bombs. And it flies through space at a fraction of the speed of light. And if it's pointed towards your satellite, that's bad news.
thanks. Now, all kidding aside, my colleagues are some of the nicest, most brilliant people that I know. And I don't want to mock male engineers in general. I've even dated a few. But every lady engineer knows. And are there any lady engineers in the audience tonight? Yeah, okay. All 5 of us are here. Great. All lady engineers know that in engineering in a man's world, for us, the odds are good, but the goods are odd. Step 4. Obtain an FCC license. So the FCC issues licenses to TV and radio and maintains decency standards for the public good. Decency standards, something that the real Uber could learn a thing or two about. Hashtag delete Uber. Step 5, lastly, watch out for space trash. So there's currently 170 million pieces of trash flying around in low Earth orbit. So even a tiny speck going 17,000 miles an hour can destroy your satellite. So I've been reading a lot about space trash recently because I have a life. And I came across this article about this fledgling rocket company that recently launched a 3-foot wide geodesic dome with reflective panels on it into space. So that's almost as useless as an Uber driver driving around with a 3-foot wide geodesic dome, giant disco ball in his backseat. And I know that these companies are trying to launch dummy payloads, kind of like how SpaceX just launched Tesla into space to test out their rockets, okay. But I think that the author really had the right idea of what was going on here. The headline said, "Giant disco ball launched into space by millionaire who is totally not compensating for anything." So if we miss out on our chance to discover dark matter over some stupid space trash, I can only hope that we go down in a giant disco fireball. Thank you.